Hello and welcome back to the Wild Wisdom Wellbeing guest slot with me, Robin Harris of Equenergy Wild Wellbeing. And today I am just so delighted to have the wonderful Ali Jones of Ali Jones Lifestyle here with me to tell us all about the work that she does. And I know, Ali, that you focus mostly on women who are peri or post-menopausal. So all of those changes that the body goes through in that phase of life. But also, I'm just very aware at the moment that this is autumn. It is the time of change here in the Northern Hemisphere. And change is something that I'm focusing on in my membership group as well. And all of our bodies change all the time in response to our environment and age and all of the things that are going on. So, oh, hello, we have somebody joining us and saying hello. Unfortunately, with StreamYard being StreamYard, we can only see that it's Facebook user. So if you're happy to say who you are, it would be lovely to know. But yeah, if we can talk obviously around the specific group of people that you work with, but also bearing in mind that we all face change and we've been through a year. Hi Vic, it's Vic Martin. And we've all gone through such a load of change over the last 18 months, 2 years. So even if you're not somebody who is going through peri or post-menopause, a lot of what we're talking about today will probably still be relevant. So, Ali, if I could hand over to you to tell us a little bit more about who is Ali Jones and how did you come to set up Ali Jones Lifestyle?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me, Robin. Please excuse me, I am just recovering from a cold. Even fit, healthy people get attacked by these bugs too. So I apologize if I sound a bit snuffly. I have been actually a beauty therapist and fitness instructor for over 30 years. And then, of course, all our lives changed over the last few years. Why I couldn't do hands-on anymore. And I would always train a group of women outside, actually in the park. No matter what the weather, we went outside. And I had to bring that online. And during that time, keeping us all going during those, many months, I then decided that this was something that I could spread to a lot more people. And that was the beauty then of being online. And because I've been really developing and working with women, I've been working with women, solely training them for many years, but what I've noticed is you kind of draw similar people to you. So I'm in my 50s and I am sort of drawing, somebody who's 20 or 30. My daughter, for instance, doesn't want to train with me. Actually, she finds it too hard. She'd rather go to the gym and put on her nice little outfit and go to the gym and have all that socializing. And to be fair, some of my friends do too, and that's absolutely fine. You have to find what your groove is, what your thing is for exercise. And I just wanted to continue this because what I was realizing is that for some women, it's like we're kind of left behind a little bit. You don't always want to go to the gym. It's a bit intimidating. You don't like to look at all those machines and all that lycra and sweaty men. That might not appeal to, it might appeal to some. For others as well, I've realized with us women, we tend to put up with quite a lot, and we've dealt with things like shoulder pain, frozen shoulders, just huge issue. Hip problems, knee problems, and these are just sort of, seems to be so many women suffering, which means they sort of gain weight, they feel that they can't go to the gym, they can't exercise, and they get trapped into a vicious circle. Now, once they've had that checked, really, then that's really where I can fit in. If it's not like bone grinding and some awful things going on, then we can get you moving. And because I will move the body in a certain way, I can actually work you. So my youngest lady is like 45, for instance, and she's training with us. And because she's got chronic knee issues and shoulder issues, so she can't, the gym is not her answer. So it's a case of really working with her. I work a lot with the fascia. And also, it's about being mindful. And everything I do is about using your mind, because it's easy just to do an exercise and just do it and go crazy. And we don't actually need to do that to get fit. And we can just slow that down a little and really concentrate. I work a lot, I'm a breath coach as well, so I work on breathing and I bring this all into the training. So by working with people's breathing patterns, because the more relaxed you are doing an exercise, even if it's a push-up, the less strain in the body and the better and healthier you feel. So this is where I want to get women to feel. It's where that they feel quite empowered. I can move them in any direction, no matter what your issue is. I can still have an exercise for you. And that's my sort of excitement and enjoyment. I spend many hours sort of working out how I can move these wonderful bodies in a way that suits you. Now, you need to be in your own home for this, because we work with things like these squidgy balls, and you need to have skin contact, so you can turn your cameras off and have this lovely skin contact where we work with fascia. We roll around on the floor with this. We do loads of stuff for the pelvis and hips. So I really need to work with you, so that you are in a comfortable position, and that's what I love. So that's one massive area of my life that's just been growing and growing, and we bring in new people. I have like a beginners type of group for people who maybe never exercised or haven't for years. And they come into that group, and then I've got more sort of intermediate or advanced, because you can take it to any level you want to. So I can train anybody at any level, even a really fit person, but they don't particularly want the gym, but they want something that I'm doing, then great. So I'm going to get you really toned and fit. If it's for weight loss type stuff, then exercise is actually only about 20% of that. You can't just do a load of fitness and think that's it. I can go and eat a lovely scrummy cake afterwards. It doesn't work like that. You need to obviously be mindful of what you're eating. Now, I'm not a nutritionist, but I have the wonderful position of, as many of us in this sort of field have been, of having brilliant contacts. And I'm a connector, so I love connecting people to the right people. So if you've got chronic autoimmune issues, then I've got a phenomenal woman that deals with autoimmune diets and food, teaching people how to eat properly, but it's all from the mindset as well. It's phenomenal. So that there are so many different people that I've met throughout 20 odd years of discovering for myself alternative and complementary medicines, that I can bring all these sort of people in as well. So there's always a contact for people. So I'm a massive connector to get, because one person doesn't do it all, but we can get you on the right pathway. So that's another thing. And really it's the breathing work that I absolutely love as well, bringing that in, because people say to me, but we all know how to breathe, Abby. Of course we do. We've all been doing it from day one. But what happens is sometimes we are not aware of our breath work. So for me, I was a mouth breather, chronic mouth breather, and I never realized. I knew it was important to breathe through the nose for filtering out rubbish in the air, but I never realized just how ineffective that was, and how actually dysfunctional that was. And until I did my course, and then I had to redo all of my breathing. And so that's really where I'm at. I mean, I even do this mouth taping and all sorts of things. And even during having a cold, that's been quite amazing. Just having this little bit of tape that goes across the mouth here to keep the mouth together, because all this breathing in and out of the nose, it's the first cold I've ever had. I haven't had one for quite a few years, but that I've ever had where I have been able to breathe through my nose the whole time without it being stuffed, because I can control that. And even through the night, I can control my breathing in and out of the nose. And that is just so important for all that anti-inflammatory stuff to go on in the body, natural healing. And that's how I train you as well when I'm doing the exercises, is breathing in and out of the nose. And we're not used to doing that, because we're normally taught breathe in and then out through the mouth, and in and out. Well, we don't do that in my training. It's all really mindfully done. Everything I bring into the work that I do, I sort of encapsulate all of these little things. So they're little tips that help you with your health along the way. So there are a few things. And then I'm very much involved in everything like essential oils, and as a beauty therapist, I help people with skin issues and stuff like that. But my main job these days, and passion, absolute passion, is to really help women to kind of get the mojo back or keep that mojo going, you know, with moving their bodies and exercising, feel part of a community if they want to be live in the classes in the mornings. I train every morning. They could be live in the mornings, or just to, they're all recorded, so you can do it on catch up later in the day when it suits you. But you'll feel like it's live for you because I'll be talking like I'm in the live class, so which is lovely. So that's my main passion. So
I love all of what you've just been talking about, and I love the idea of we need to look after what goes into our bodies as much as everything else. That weight loss isn't just exercise, exercise, exercise. And then, because I used to be a part of a group where we were taught about nutrition, and they said you can't out exercise a bad diet. So you cannot just think I'll eat whatever I want, and so long as I go to the gym or whatever, it'll be fine. But also that movement doesn't have to be about exercise as in going to the gym. It is movement that's important, and mindful movement and movement. I love the saying that I don't exercise to punish my body. I move to celebrate my body and all that it can do for me. And for me, I'm not a gym person at all. For a start, the machines just bamboozle me, and trying to learn all the different things, and particularly if they're electronic and you have to press buttons, it's just not for me. But what I love is exercise that has a purpose. Now, that purpose can just be fun. So I love dancercise kind of things because I love the music, I love the beat, I love the moving with other people. Or because I'm very fortunate to have 2 horses that I care for living on the land with us, they're up the hill. So every morning I'm pulling up barrows of hay and food and stuff, and then I'm cleaning up after them in the field. So I'm moving that around. But it's being outdoors. It's celebrating the movement that my body can do, because like you're saying, you were saying some of the people can't keep up if they're in their 20s. They're thinking, oh my goodness, here's this class run by 50-something person and it's too hard for me. I am much fitter now than I was in my 20s. And I think it's because I'm enjoying it. Because as well, you need to find an exercise that you enjoy, otherwise you won't stick at it, will you? And if it is celebrating your body and you are enjoying it, then you're going to keep at it because you just love it so much. And we've got a comment. I love that. I'll say that to myself when I'm moving from now on, celebrating my body. Absolutely. When I first read that, it was almost not quite a punch, but it was really like hit me hard. I thought, oh my goodness. Because for years, I probably wasn't looking at things that way. I was doing a lot of that exercising to keep fit, keep trim. I did enjoy most of the exercise that I did, but the reason behind it. So it's like you're saying, being mindful, because the body knows, doesn't it? The body knows why we're doing something. It knows if we're doing it to punish ourselves.
It does. And it takes it away from the enjoyment, and then you don't stick at it. So if you can do it, and my eldest ladies that are 72 actually that work with me, and one has had 3 strokes and been through a lot of cancer and lots of struggles in her life. And she is doing exercise for the first time and had a very nasty slip disc as well earlier this year. She's working with me, and she messaged me the other day and she said, I am loving the weights. And I thought, whoa, so we just have, dumbbells. She's got about 2 kilo weights that she's working with, and she's loving working with weights. It's the first time for her. And just doing little bicep curls, and because the problem with women is we lose a lot of our upper body strength unless you're like you, working with the horses and working in a different way. But for a lot of us women, we lose that. We lose, obviously, with progesterone and things like that depleting. Obviously, our bones and bodies are changing. And so we need to be aware of this. But so to keep up strength, that's why weight training is actually quite important. So we do use little weights, but you'll just start maybe with a 2 kilo weight, depending on where you're at. And we'll do little bicep curls and shoulder pushes. But if you have shoulder injuries and problems, which I have a lot of those women who I train, then we're just very mindful of how we're moving that body. And then we do fascia work. We work a bit with these elastics as well, these fabric resistance bands. and they're phenomenal for joints. So absolutely, they support the joint. So even in a really bad shoulder injury, you can work these elastics absolutely amazingly well without any injury. And then by working the fascia afterwards, I do very specialized fascia work. That again repairs. So I had a lady with a chronic frozen shoulder. She'd had it for a long time. She did go and have a steroid injection because she couldn't move at all. And then afterwards, she got straight into my classes, and literally within 3 weeks, she's full movement, full everything. Everything was great, and that's because she really worked hard on the fascia, and she did extra afterwards. I just gave her some extra bits to do. But just healing. The fascia, for those who are a bit unaware of that word, is what really, it's like the connective tissue. It's the thing that connects. It's like a mesh almost that goes between all your skin, your muscles, your joints, your ligaments. It's the thing that just ties and nets us all together. And we need to just release that and work with that fascia. And that's where all the healing happens. That's where all the movement happens. We free that up. That's what I want to work with. And that's why it's almost like having physio when you come to my classes with fun. And I talk you through the whole time. I talk about core the whole time. And I want you to have like this connection between your mind and your body and your pelvic floor. Because again, that's an area that's sort of a little bit missed. We relax the jaw, we plant the tongue, and then we can get a connection then with the pelvic floor. Every exercise we do, I'm explaining this because you're in the moment of doing something and you forget. So I then say, pull in the core, connect to your pelvic floor. Now, we don't need to have really tight pelvic floors because that's not good either. But it's a case of getting that balance, that connection going again, so we can feel it and we can retrain that muscle and just get everything working. So I do a lot with the pelvis. Everything's with the core. So you get stronger quite quickly during this training because you are connecting. I'm making you think the whole time. I'm connecting you to your body and grounding you. Really grounding you. And then by the end, after the fascia work, I then do restorative stuff with you. And that's really calming the nervous system and working on your nervous system. And then meditation. So all this in an hour. It is all possible, and it's just divine. So by the end of it, you feel so grounded and energized. So I've been working with people who've suffered with chronic fatigue, and they feel energized and buzzing after the class. Now, obviously, when they're in that low level of the illness, then it's impossible to train. You can't even get out of bed. But if you start to deal with this through specialized coaches, and I know people who've done it through this autoimmune coach, you can then come through the other side and start training, and you will feel absolutely full. You feel like on top of the world, and that's how I want women to feel at the end of their hour session with me. I feel on top of the world, and your day is ready, and you're really grounded and rooted. So that's the nicest feeling I think any of us could wish for. So,
and for me, it's so much about getting an understanding of how is my body designed to work, because like you were saying with the resistance bands and things like that, when our body is working as it's meant to, then it all supports itself. It's like one of those, another word, tensegrity, so tension and integrity models, that they're held together not by tension, but by just that everything is just as it should be, that balance. So you're not, like you were saying about the pelvic floor, overly tense, which so often we are in our muscles, in our joints, in our fascia. So it's the release of that. So we get into flow and grace. And I did an Alexander technique session once with somebody, and she talked about the Fred Astaire way of being. So he worked and he trained, and he was, his muscles were really, really strong. But when you watch him, he has such grace and flow, and you wouldn't think he's working hard. Like a ballet dancer, they train and their muscles are rock hard, but when you watch, there's such grace and flow. So it's that ability to move, and you have both sets working at the same time. So you're not, and you're using your muscles as they're meant to be used. so that they're all working together in flow, not pushing too hard or pulling too hard or out of shape, because we don't always do that, do we? We use the wrong muscles to do the wrong things versus which muscles actually do I need to lift, to stand, to sit down, all of these things. So doing something like this where you start to become aware and to do it consciously and to suddenly have that connection again. I love that idea, the connection between my head and my body, because quite often we're actually living with a disconnect between those two. But when we can bring it all together, and like you were saying about people with chronic fatigue, I was a sufferer of ME years ago and I ended up being bedridden. But being able to come to the point of, I don't have to push. When I can do it with flow, I get my energy back because I'm not expending energy, spending energy where I shouldn't be because it's not supporting me. And I start putting my energy where it supports me. And then, so like you were saying about working with coaches or doing release techniques or breathing techniques to get to that point of, oh, I feel some energy again. And I can use it in a way, because quite often for myself, I felt I wanted to do something. I felt I had energy and then it just disappeared. It was like somebody pulled the plug and it was too late and I was exhausted and I needed days to recover, versus learning how I can do that in a supportive way.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I love the idea. And it's something I've done over the years. You know, I trained hard when I was younger. But there are some days where I'm not in the mood. Now, I have to because I'm the teacher. But so, you know, but there are days when my body, and if I'm teaching, so this week I have had a cold. So I'm teaching, but I'm not... I'm teaching it to my level, and even though I'm teaching you, I'm showing you the movement, but I'll be doing it, for instance, without the weight, but guiding you through it. And I'm respectful of my body, and even though I'm teaching, I don't need to hurt myself to make you feel well, if that makes sense, because that's not what I'm trying to teach everybody else. You've got to practice what you preach. So even in times where I'm not feeling great, and there may be other times where you know, sorry, I don't know if any men are watching this, but you know, if you're having a really heavy bleed, you know, going through perimenopause, you know, it's like constant for me. It's all over the place, and I feel a little more exhausted. So, and I will always just be mindful of that and say, you know, I'm not feeling this movement today. I'm going to do it. So I explain another movement, and those who are feeling this movement, work with this if you're feeling great and all this energy, but for me, I'm taking it here today. And I think that's nice because people can then relate to me and think, oh my God, you know, they're not watching me push, because that's what I'm not teaching you. You don't need to push to be toned and fit and well and feel good. You don't need to do that. And we don't need to do that anymore. You know, we don't need to do that anymore. And I love that. I love that it's slow. I watch women when they first join me, and they do things quite fast. And you know, and when I say slow it, I want you to really slow it now, and I want you now to feel it, and I want you to smile. And suddenly the tension goes, and then they can move. Then I see their body moving. That's when I know that they've hit a much lovelier stage. You're going to get better results. You're going to have no injuries. You're just going to feel good, and that's where I want to take you. So it's a very different feel to go 10 more. You know, that's just not. I might only want to do 3 more.
Or no more.
Or no more. Absolutely. And even when we're in a plank, you know, we're holding the plank, and you know, and there'll be times where you know, just drop to your knees, smile, release that jaw, but keep the tongue planted. And I'm sort of giving you instructions all the way through so that you have permission to listen to your body. And that's a connection that I'm trying to get us to do, because I think we have been so disconnected, as you said earlier, for a long time. And women, I think men probably are too, if I'm honest. But we do it more because we've always been, we're so mindful of everyone else, aren't we? As you know, looking after partners, kids, or whatever, and parents, or wherever we're at in our stages. And But that tuning in and connecting with you and your needs and really listening, it's a bit of a, oh, I've got to think of something. And at the end, I love, I take you to meditation then. And once we've gone through a little restorative phase where I talk you through some breath work, we then go into meditation. And the beauty of that is we have the most wonderful gift given to us, and that is our imagination. And meditation is literally about going into that. So when you're in this calm state and your body feels nourished and beautiful, and then you can drift into this gift of imagination and taking you to a happy place. And that's just like then the ultimate for everybody, because you do, it's like go there, smell it, taste it, what sounds are there, and be really, and it could be a made up place, it could be somewhere you've been before, but I'm trying to get women actually to connect to their imagination, because again, that's an area that we've sort of let kids do that, but to really use your imagination during meditation is quite fun and beautiful, because you can go wherever. You could be a different place each time, or it might be the same place. It just be somewhere that makes you feel calm and happy. But then when I tell you to tap into, what colors do you see? And it doesn't happen for everybody immediately, and and again, you're at home anyway. Nobody knows. Your camera can be on or off. You're muted. It doesn't matter. There's no right or wrong way of doing anything, and that's what I also explain during this. But it's just lovely to have that tool of using it, and the more and more you train with me, the more you have to go there. She's going to ask me to go to my imagination again, and then eventually you get there and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm on the beach. I'm on the beach and there's lovely palm trees and I feel warm, and whatever it is for you, whatever your happy place is. But I think that's really beautiful, and that just takes you to an end of the program with me, where it's just a bit of heaven, a bit of fun as well.
And those are the two best things, aren't they? So you're getting into that peaceful, calm state. So out of the fight or flight, the sympathetic, and into the parasympathetic, the rest and repair. So your body is getting into that deep rest. It's enjoyable. You're loving it. You're feeling it deeply. And I love that. I'm passionate about our imagination and visualizing. Visualizing isn't the best term, because it's not just vision, it's auditory. What can you hear? Can I hear the wind in the trees, those palm trees, the sea lapping on the shore, or birds in the sky? Getting into all of that is rest and repair, so the body can digest properly, it can make up for any exercise that we've been doing, restoring all of those cells, pumping them all up again. And I love what you were saying earlier about permission. I grew up, I was in school in the 80s, and our school was reasonably progressive. So we didn't just do hockey, and we did have all the traditional sports. But for, I think, probably the older ones, so I don't know if I was in sixth form by this stage, we could choose what we did for our games session. And we had Jane Fonda. So it was all the go for the burn and just another 10 and squeeze those muscles, feel the burn. And I loved all of that, but it was hard work, and I'm sure it wasn't doing my body as many favors as what you are offering, where it's listen to your body. How far does your body feel it can go today? How many reps do you feel you can do today? Or do you feel like you were saying, I will show you this exercise, but actually today I'm not feeling that one. I'm going to be doing this one, so you can choose. And it's, okay, what does my body think is right for me today? What is my body telling me? So again, it's that connect, isn't it? It's starting to listen. And I love that. I do body scans with people and tune in. Where is your tension? Where could you just let that go? Where could you breathe into it and just use your visualization, use your imagination, just breathe into that and release, give yourself permission, all of that stuff. I think it's just so good for us, and so great, I think, that there's so much awareness now of breathing, of getting into the parasympathetic, the rest and repair, of using visualization, of tuning into your body and letting it guide you.
Yeah, Absolutely. And I know that there isn't that, there aren't that many coaches doing what I'm doing in the exercise world, of coaching. I never know what word to use. It's like women over 45, mature women, midlife women. It's like, I don't know what to call us. But, I mean, I've sort of put it for the mature woman. Because I think it was hard to define an age, because, as I say, it's at the minute it's between 45 and 75. But that doesn't mean somebody who's 80 can't do it. But as long as she can move, it can't be somebody who can only just sit in a chair. I do need somebody I've helped to move with us and want to work in this style. But it is hard when you're trying to put an age on it, because younger women won't, because you don't want to discriminate either. It's like, younger women won't get it, probably.
But do you have to label? Do you have to label and categorize, or say, this is what we're doing? Does this feel attractive to you? Does this resonate for you? Is this, because it could be somebody in their 20s, it could be somebody in their 80s. If this is the style of movement that you want to try out, it might not even be for you once you've tried it. But if you want to come along and give it a go, if it's kind of, ooh, that sounds intriguing, I'd like to try that. Doesn't matter what age you are.
I did think of that at first. I thought just put it for women, but then I thought, I really know that, and you'd end up attracting your kind of people anyway, don't you?
Well, that's why I was thinking, you don't need to label; they'll just come.
They will just come. So, and obviously I've trained all sorts throughout 30 years of training people. In fact, I started off as a bodybuilder trainer. So I used to train bodybuilders. So that was where my sort of training began in all of this. So in the real hardcore stuff, and then it sort of changed throughout the years until now. I just train women, but because it is different, we have different strengths, we have different needs, we have, we have had children for many of us, and our pelvic floors change through the menopause as well. So everything does soften, and there are changes there. So I think just because I understand it, because I'm that woman, it is that actually I do need to attract women like me, because I understand you, I hear you, I see you, I know what you're going through, and I am that woman. So that's kind of that is the woman but I absolutely love training the older women that have been through it, but really need it too. There isn't a place, it's, as one of my ladies said, I just feel like I'm a missed out part of community when it comes to exercise now. Where do I go? Where do I fit in? It's like, you belong with me. That's where you fit in. You belong with me.
Falling through the gaps. Find your way to Ali.
Exactly. So yeah.
Yeah, because definitely there are loads of options for younger people. And there are lots of options available now for older people as well. Chair yoga and all of these things, where, like you were saying, if you're somebody who does their exercise seated, there's a plethora of different things that you can try. But if you are in between, if you're not a gym bunny, but you're not totally in a chair either, where do you go if you still want to be active, and if you want to build up, maybe like you're saying, if you're somebody who's had chronic fatigue and you're looking for something that can help you get back your energy, your mojo, your interest in all of these things, where do you go? So it's wonderful to know that there's something there.
Yeah. I mean, I have a lady that she even trains with, she has balance issues. So, she has to have a stick. So, and I'm mindful of that. So you always have a consultation with me. And I'm mindful that, she will need to use her balance with her stick, but still making her engage with her core. But she'll need that for her balance. And that's okay. So, but she can still move and do the exercises. And yeah, there's a lot of hip and knee issues going on. And the emotional side to that is quite interesting. I don't know if you've looked at the emotional side to knee and hip issues, but they're often linked to that almost being stuck, not being able to move yourself forward, unless it's actually an injury from something. But a lot of the time,
Even
it's
then.
where women are stuck. Yes, and it's that inability to move forward. So if we know that there's, it could be arthritis or some other things going on, that's all autoimmune. I've had somebody that had chronic rheumatoid arthritis, was on many different treatments for it, and she has now followed a protocol, completely arthritis clear, free, zero pain, amazing. She trains with me. So you can go through, but I also have women that are not in that situation where they do suffer with a lot of pain. So it's a case of how do we move those bodies, and how do we get them to feel comfortable in a movement. And they may be just small movements for them, again, just mindfully working in, but they're loving it, and they're still doing it, and they're enjoying it, and they come back for more. And that's what it's all about. So yeah, and then hopefully they'll move on to, they'll get up into my advanced classes, because they'll also get other conditions seen by other people that I can refer people to, and get people well. My whole aim, the Ali Jones lifestyle, is all about wellness and health, and that is what it's about on every level. And it's about balance. If we can balance all of those things out, then that's the key. Now, I'm not saying that I've got it all perfectly, organized, but it's something you work on all the time, keeping your work-life balance, your whatever it is, your health, exactly everything that goes inside you. What are you eating? What are you feeding yourself? What are you feeding your mind? All these things, it's to do with balance, and that's really what the Ali Jones lifestyle is. It's all about taking all those things into consideration, and getting yourself to a place where you're just happy and free, and maybe hopefully got your mojo a bit, and you're moving forward so that you can step out of those knee and hip issues and move your body forward and move your mind forward. I've been very lucky. The last year I've been doing a mindset course, and that has been wonderful for me, personally. I use it in my training a bit as well. But just using, because we're so aware of everything we see, hear, touch, smell, taste, that we've forgotten how to use our intuition and all these wonderful skills that we have inside of us. And my daughter, she'll say, "I just feel that it's right, Mum." I said, "Then it is. It is." She's 20, and it's like, it is right then. We have intuition, and it's not really taught. So because she's like, "Well, other people are saying," it's like, it doesn't matter. What does it feel like? And our intuition is never wrong. It's never wrong. And I didn't know that, actually. I kind of did, because intuitively I knew that. But on the other side of things, I was a bit but it's about tapping into all those things. The imagination. I mean, my imagination was always quite good, but now it's wild, it's brilliant, it's so expansive, and it's that our conscious and unconscious mind doesn't know what's real. You can make up beautiful things in your head, change stories, and you can do so much with your mind. And so it's having all those balances and all that positivity in your life that can move you forward and step you out, hopefully, of pain and some other things that women are going through. And maybe for women that have even lost their mojo a bit, maybe kids have left home. It's a very lonely place sometimes, and I have a lady that's going to be setting up a group all about that, actually, in a positive way, which is really exciting. I'm so excited about her helping women in that particular, getting your mojo and working with all of that. But that's what it's all about. It's about finding all this again and rebuilding us beautiful, amazing women that we are. So.
And I love that you mentioned intuition. My wild acronym that's there, the I, is for intuition, and for getting back that connection that we have with our own inner wisdom. And you were talking about balance. I've spoken before on here or on my page, I'm not sure which, or possibly both, about, for me, it's not balance. as in I've achieved my balance. It's a verb actually rather than a noun. I am balancing, because things are always changing, and we're having to then, if we want to keep our balance, readjust, because if something moves, then something else has to move just to get that balance back. And because stuff around us is always moving, we're always then, how to re-find my balance with where this is now. So and rebalancing between all of those aspects that you talked about as well, and our external and our internal, and all the different aspects of ourselves, being that we are multifaceted but interconnected. So yeah, very much. I that's and you talked about as well hip and knee issues and stepping out of them, and the whole kind of physical, metaphorical, energetic perspective on that, which is where I come from, which is, what I support people with, looking at, why do you have that pain? Why now? Why in that part of your body? Let's explore that. There's so much information within that for you, to the level that you're ready for and that you want to take on board. Because yes, some people might still experience pain. Some people might be able to step out of that pain. But it's also just knowing that my body isn't attacking itself. It's just doing what it believes it needs to do in order to feel safe. The belief may not be supporting me, and maybe I will choose to reframe that. But I have that awareness, and then I have that choice, and then I have that freedom to make that choice, versus I don't know and I'm just in pain and I'm suffering. So it's how much do we want to open up to that, because each of us are on a different journey and different readiness and openness for that. But just to start practicing openness, practicing curiosity, practicing self-compassion, that whatever I choose to do is fine. I give myself permission for that. It's where I am right now, and that's absolutely fine. And from there, I can move forward or not, as I choose. But also being aware that it's often musculoskeletal things are around, do I feel able? Do I feel strong enough? Where's my sense of self-worth in all of this? And these are big questions that can start to make us maybe beat ourselves up, like we used to do with our exercise. And we do that so often, don't we? We're taught so much of how to beat ourselves up, how to keep pushing, how to not listen to our intuition. So starting on this journey is quite a challenge, and can start off thinking this is just a simple little bit of exercise, but it then ends up being so much deeper than that. So I love, what I'd like to come on to talk with you now is about the breath work, because I think the breath work, and you talked about the meditations and the fascia work, and all, I think that's what really supports and goes to that deeper level. And you talk about being breathed. It's not just breathing, but being breathed. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
It's about when you are fully relaxed, and it's like every cell in your body is being full of air, and it's being sort of fed. And it's quite hard. I didn't understand what being breathed was when I started this course, but by the end of it, we got to a stage where we were being breathed, because it was as if that air was coming into every single pore and cell of my whole body, that it wasn't just coming in and out of my nose anymore. It was coming in through my feet, through my hands, through my arms. And it was almost like this cellular breath work that was then beginning to happen. That's where I take you during a course of breath work. But and that's a beautiful state where we're in this restorative, natural flow of breath where we're not fighting it. Now, a lot of us don't think we are fighting our breathing, but and some of us will have quite good breathing patterns. But for a lot of us, they may not be that way, but you don't really know if they're good or bad. You're unsure. But if you maybe are asthmatic or had respiratory conditions or even long COVID or anything that's really affected the lungs, then there will be some stuff that's stuck, and it's about shifting all of that. And we work with, again, fascia and restorative work. we call it somatic movement, and it's having an opening and freedom of moving your body in a way that frees up the body so that it gets unstuck, unglued. And when that's unstuck, we can then breathe more freely. People who mouth breathe, like I was, people who hyperventilate. And one of the things we say to people who hyperventilate is, if they're having a bit of maybe a panic attack or something like that, it's like, breathe deeply, take slow, deep breaths, and actually sometimes that can be the worst thing for them. So it's about becoming aware of how to do this breath work. And by breathing in and out through the nose, in yoga, there are so many different types of breathing techniques, and we're all aware that, and if anyone's watching who are yogis, you've all had different teachers and backgrounds, and you'll have different types and styles of words for it and all the rest of it. I don't have all the words for it because I was trained by a yoga specialist and breathwork specialist, but the whole thing is based around yoga breath and science. So they combine the two together. And this is where the whole thing comes in. And this beautiful woman, Jo Kemp, has devised this thing over many, many, many years of freeing up the body. And she's somebody that has understands this because she's come from having pneumonia and things like this throughout her life. So she's very aware. So she's worked with this for many, many, many years. And it's just beautiful because we then become to a stage where we're being breathed. And as I was saying earlier, even through this cold, to know that I could breathe in and out of my nose, that I didn't have that congestion, that was so powerful because I've got well very quickly. Because I know I'm creating this beautiful nitric oxide that's going in and out of the body. And that's creating this beautiful anti-inflammatory, just naturally, it's free, that I can just breathe beautifully for myself like that, which is just wonderful and soothing. So that's kind of like the being breathing, where you're at that stage where you are just, it's just so free. I think that's it. There's no hold anywhere within the breath.
And I was going to come on to that because, okay, we can kind of get it if you're asthmatic or if you have any lung conditions, COPD, all of those things. But just think of the average person, particularly over the last 18 months, we've been working from home. Our home workstations might be a laptop on the kitchen table. Instantly, we're in the not very supportive. So our lungs are squashed, our diaphragm is squashed versus the opening. And if anybody knows about energy medicine and the chakras, you're closing in your heart chakra. And a lot of us do this when we don't feel safe. If you think of somebody who is timid, the caricature, it's again standing like this. You're closing in the part of you that feels very vulnerable. Versus when we can feel free and we can feel confident and in our sovereignty and all of these things, we naturally, shoulders back, down, and the tension in the neck goes. So again, all the fascia and the muscles, and our diaphragm is freed up to move as it's supposed to move, and we start to breathe as we're supposed to breathe. And the intercostals between our ribs aren't tight anymore either. And if you're maybe somebody watching this who has experienced any kind of trauma in your life, and if you know about ACEs, the adverse childhood experiences, I'm watching again the Gabor Mate Wisdom of Trauma movie and series on trauma, and they talk about how so many of us have these traumatic events in our lives. We might look back now and think, oh, that was when I was a child, it's so long ago, I'm over it now. But that inner child may still be carrying that, and we carry it in our bodies, and we carry it as tension. So I've got a friend who does traumatic release exercises, TRE, because they've discovered that things like the psoas that are really deep in there, and we can't necessarily work on them by massage from the outside, but there are exercises that we can do. And this muscle holds so much of our tension and our emotional tension, that kind of, because they did research with war-torn areas. Every time there was an explosion or something, we'll do this. We'll go into that kind of fetal protective position to look after our vital organs and so on, but then that gets held and there's tension still in that part of our body, so we're not breathing properly. So the average person probably isn't breathing properly. It's not just people with asthma and diagnosed, recognized diseases. So I think we can all benefit from this. And I was listening to another one of the trauma series movies yesterday, and they were talking all about breath in a new one that I hadn't met before, but based around when we're babies and toddlers, we generally know how to breathe. We know how to stand, but we lose it over the years. So again, all the more reason to come back to this awareness of our body, working with it, and being able then to really, like you're saying, every single cell, become conscious in a sense of every single cell. And it's all there just wanting to be supportive, wanting to do its thing, do all of its own chemical reactions as it's designed to do. And breath work supports that, doesn't it?
It is quite phenomenal. And you're absolutely right. We live a lot in our front bodies. And so we are around it so much, and let alone if we're holding on to past trauma. And the beauty of this course was it was all based on being very trauma sensitive. So because for a lot of people, saying letting go is actually not really very helpful. It's like, I don't want to let go, thank you. So it's about giving you permission to be where you're at and never feeling like it's wrong. So if I'm describing a sensation that to you, so while we're in a certain position, I'll give lots of definitions of that feeling, because for some it may be light, it may be like drifting, it might be heavy, it might be constricting. So, and I give you that permission to feel into what it is, and no feeling is wrong, and that's the beauty of this sort of work that I'm doing. And I even when I'm doing the fitness stuff, I still bring that into it as well, because it doesn't matter what we're doing. As soon as we're going into this, I want you to again just settle into just where you're at, and then just step into your back body, go back and feel that grounding through the backness, and the back of the head. There's a lovely restorative position where we can put support, just rolling a towel along the spine and making that spine feel very secure. And there are some other props and things involved, and just things like that, just getting into, and never ever compromising on comfort, and being wiggle into a position until you're so fully there. And then you are ready, and your arms may be close to you. You may need that extra support. You may want to be swaddled in your blankets. You may want to be open. And so it's, again, allowing everybody to feel how they feel. It's not how I feel. It's nothing to do with me. It's how you feel, and stepping into where you're at, because everybody is so different, and you need to respect that. When I'm teaching this, I respect that it might not be light and airy fairy for everybody. It might be heavy and not so nice. So it's being aware of that and allowing that, and having permission to feel that. It's okay. And then we can drift off to somewhere else in the body, and that's okay. So,
and there's no right or wrong, good or bad.
There's no right or wrong. Exactly. And
where you are today.
Pardon?
Where you are today, because you're saying that where you are, but where you are today may be different from where you are tomorrow.
Exactly. Yeah. And I love that. I love that ever changing. Well, if I'm doing a course with somebody, I might have set up, I think I'll do this one today. I did that, and I'm going to work on this, and then we'll have our consultation for the first few minutes, and it's like, no, that whole program will change. Like, that's not where they're at today. I'm going here today. So yeah, absolutely. You have to adapt and change as we are all of the time. And that is the beauty of learning something like this. I never realized that it was going to be so impactful in my life, just personally, and then how I could teach it and bring it into what I do. It's been probably one of the most special things I've learned, because it just encapsulates everything, and feeling that calmness within the body. Like you're saying, anxiety the last few years, and most of us have now experienced that sort of higher levels of anxiety, to be able to breathe your way through some of this does help. And having that correct type of breath work. Some people think that deep breathing is like pushing the belly out, and that, really, and it isn't. It's about expanding the rib cage. It's expanding the diaphragm and having some width, not pushing out, because that can be a little bit dysfunctional. It's about having this expansive movement in the body. And it's beautiful when you can then get that connection and feel right into your ribs, and feeling them coming in and out while you're breathing in and out, just naturally through your nose without any force, and just having that wonderful energetic feeling just for a few moments can be soothing in a stressful situation. I have somebody that suffers chronic anxiety that I know, and just by sitting with her and getting her to breathe lightly without any force, without anything, before it goes into a high anxiety, almost hyperventilating stage, just to get her to do this soft feather-like breathing in and out the nose, but feeling into the ribcage, give some width, can suddenly change everything. Not having to force a deep breath in and out that makes her feel even more panicky. It's actually the lightness of a breath that can take us to a more soothed place, and that was quite eye-opening.
Well, it's that light touch, isn't it, that is graceful.
Yeah.
And I just love the way when you play with words, things like grace come up, jumping out of you, and you think, that's it, that's exactly what I need, because it encapsulates so much the freedom and the balance and all of those things. And you talked before about letting go can be quite a challenge. We may not realize what we're holding on to, that we're holding on to anything. How can I let it go when I don't know what I'm holding? But I love Jack Cornfield's quote where he said, it's not about letting go, but about letting be. And as soon as we just let it be, so it's not right, it's not wrong, it just is, I'm letting it be, and then it can come and go of its own accord. And because change is the only constant in our lives, it will never stay anyway. Nothing will ever stay as long as we're letting it be.
Yeah, love that. Yeah, that's really beautiful. Yeah, that's such a much healthier state. Otherwise, we're so busy beating ourselves up all the time, or feeling that we've got something wrong with us. And actually, we haven't. We're perfect. We're perfect in every way. But we're believing that there's something wrong all the time. Yeah, and there isn't. We're just using the wrong vocabulary. Absolutely. So.
Yeah, I love that concept, and I use vocabulary around our bodies and listening, like you're saying. Does it feel light for you? Does it feel heavy for you? What is that saying? What is that piece of vocabulary from your body, so that we build that up and we have that deeper kind of understanding and connection and ability to interpret what's being said. But Ali, we've been here for an hour. So
oh my goodness, where did that go?
I know. It's time to draw this to a close. So if I could just ask you lastly, please, to tell people where they can find you. If listening to you today, they've thought, oh, I need Ali. I need a bit of Ali Jones lifestyle. Where can they find you? How can they contact you?
Okay. Well, you'd be so welcome into my life. I'm quite an open, personable person, so I love getting to meet people. So you can find me on ajlifestyle.co.uk. That's my website, and you'll find lots of different categories in there. You can always just send me an email if you wish, direct at alijoneslifestyle@gmail.com. But do hop onto their website, actually, because it's got everything on there, and you can book a free chat with me. It's free to talk, just have a cup of tea and we just have a chat about where you're at and what you need. And I would love to meet you and maybe introduce you to some other things that I'm doing, even if it's on a trial run. The fitness sessions are only £22 a month for as many classes as you like. You can do them live or catch up. The only thing I say is just put that in your diary, give you, you have to commit to you and to your time. Nobody can sabotage it unless it's an emergency. And that even if you're working still, you have to fit that time in to move your body, to exercise correctly and feel great. And I'd love to be able to get you to just a great feeling, really.
Well, you're a shining model for what you do. Just,
Thank
I'm
you.
sure that anybody, if you're watching the video, either you've been with us live today or on the catch up, you'll just be able to see, yeah, Ali, you radiate
Thank
just
you.
all of what you're talking about.
Oh, I love it all, and I do take it all, really seriously. It's great stuff, and it moves me forward and going in the right way, and I get to work with fabulous women. That's what I love. I get to connect, and when I'm connecting with women, then I can glow, as I know you do too, Robin. It's a
Absolutely.
gift, isn't it? I mean, I feel blessed to do what we do, and oh my gosh, the fact that we can reach so many people. This is the good thing for lockdown for me. I can now do everything online. I wasn't doing that before, and now I can get to reach much more people, to help more people, which is just great and more exciting. So yeah,
Definitely the opportunity that it provides, isn't it?
yeah, it's
So
amazing.
thank you so much, Ali.
Thank you.
And thank you to everybody who's watched, either with us live here today, or if you're watching the catch up, just stick in #replay. It'd be lovely to know that you've tuned in. And if you have any questions, it's not too late. Stick them in the comments below this video, and either myself or Ali will be very happy to get back to you. So I will be back again, I'm sure, with another live guest spot here. I'm taking a bit of a break, but stay tuned in the group, and I'm sure I'll be announcing any future plans very soon. Take care. Bye for now.
Bye. Thank you so much. Bye.